Alright, here we go. Video number 2. I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about here. Excuse me. On the Diatone 180 here. Exactly what I was talking about on the QAV. I'm going to go ahead and take the top plate off. Set the top plate right there. And as you guys can see here, I had the same flight controller right here, which is a Naze 32 Rev 5. Where basically it's a Flip 32 board, clone of the Naze, which is a damn good board too. And as you can see right here, on this side right here, these are your PWM inputs for your motors, okay? These are your motor inputs right here. These from 1, 2, 3, and go all the way up to 4, up to 6, or whatever. Now, on this side right here, these are your side for your receiver. This is usually the ones you want to use for your PPM, which basically what I was telling you guys is what I'm using right here. What I use here, I usually connect this to there, which I have 2 ends on both sides with the same like this. On your WC, you will have one or these wires like this on the K-bar. The K-bar wires. You can use your wires for the K, like the K-bar. And basically what you're going to do is the same thing like I have here. These are all your inputs right here, but as you can see, I got the pins soldered up for PWM, which is for this thing right here, which I had to use. As you can see, I had those 3 wires soldered to those 3 sections right there on the flight controller. And that's my motors right there. And as you can see on the motors, I'm only running the ground and power to the first one and signal on the rest of them. And that's basically how you can do it on the ESCs. That's just for the ESCs. So you always want to run power and ground for your very first one and signal on all the rest of them. But anyway, that's what I'm running on that. But I'm gonna show you what you can do with the wires from your receiver that you have from the big receiver, like this basically right here. I'm using these even though they're cut on the other ends. Basically what you're going to be doing is connecting those like that to those, like basically like so, all the way down to 6 channels. Is basically what you will be doing. You'll be connecting them to all 6 channels on there. But I'm just putting them on there, just showing you. Because I'm trying to do this with one hand and hold the camera at the same time. But the other 2 pins are kind of bent a little bit because I bent them. But basically that's what you're going to do for your receiver input side. You're going to go ahead and plug every one in to that. But you have to make sure when you plugging those in that they correspond with those channels right there. And you will know when you plug that bad boy in, when you pull that quad up for the first time, your inputs are different or backwards. That will be the first reason why, because you got those backwards. So make sure you put those in the right channels that it's supposed to go into. So you always can go into the firmware and do your channel mapping and stuff like that. So, but that's the way to wire it up directly from here to here, and that's basically what it will be. Those will be connected from every single one of those to there. But like I said, if you have one like this, you see it runs PPM, you only have to use just that single wire, just a single wire right there, plug into the PPM section right there, boom, you're done. That's basically what this is right here. With that big receiver right there does the same thing this little receiver right here does. This little receiver do the same thing that does, except this thing gives you 8 channels. That only gives you 6 channels. So That's the reason why a lot of us use the lemon receivers in the DSMX satellites. And that's another thing. If you have a satellite WC, you can use a satellite. And that's basically where we go. Let me clear this out. I bring you back to my build, my new build that I'm doing here, which I'm not using a big receiver like this, and I'm not using the PPM receiver, which I just had here just a few minutes ago. I just moved it out the way, just scooted over here somewhere. But anyway, oh, there it go right there. When you're not using a PPM receiver like this, because that's like I said, this is usually what I use on all my builds, is this right here. You can use a satellite. Yes, I am using a Spectrum satellite, but Spectrum satellites usually have to have 3.3 volts to those bad boys. So in your deal, you have to find a 3.3 volt connection on your flight controller or on your PDB board. The wire power from 3 volts to your Spectrum satellite. But that's the way to run it. We'll buy a Spectrum satellite, PPM receiver, and remember, if you don't have PPM receiver, you always can use your regular receiver. You don't have to use the PPM encoder or anything like that. You can use a regular receiver. Just plug the channels in the corresponding channels into your flight controller here. And once you get those corresponding channels into the right channel, boom, it's done. So that's the thing about these things, guys. You want to make them as minimal, as less wires as possible. I mean, you kind of want it to be a clean build. And like I say, it comes back again to the Space One. I got like 4 quads sitting here on the table, 3 quads. Well, 4. I got the QAV 220, the Diatone 180, the QAV 250, and the Space One 220 racing frame. And like I say, some of these builds get tighter and tighter and tighter as you go. But as you can see what I'm talking about, you want it to be as clean wiring as possible. You always want to put your flight controllers here in the center on the board, which is what they call it. You have a clean and dirty section. You always want to do that to make sure everything is okay. And as you can see here, this is my little ZMR 150 frame. Yes, this is a ZMR frame. And as you see, I have these standoffs there in the middle, just a little dusty. Sorry guys, I need to get back and put this bad boy back together. But as you can see, you always want to put those standoffs on there to put the flight controllers here in the center of the frame. Always. But like I say, thanks for watching. You guys see the little shit that I got going on, all the little small builds. Like I say, this is another little small build that I got. I got so much little small frames and quads, man, it's ridiculous, and parts and ESCs and stuff all in there, just gathering stuff up. And this is my Rotor X Atom, and that's why I said you want to get them as clean as possible. The wires and stuff, I'm gonna have to redo this bad boy because I don't like the way the antenna sits up in the back. That's a high dollar antenna. But as you, like I say, you want to get the builds WC is real clean. The wiring, I know it's kind of hard on some of these. This isn't supposed to be like this. You see, I got the motors upside down, but it still does blow the right way they're supposed to be. And that is the hex right here that I took apart. And as you can see what I'm saying? I took some of the standoffs off. But you want to kind of get it as clean as possible. You know what I'm saying? You always want to have your flight controller here in the center of the board. And on this one, I have a PDB, which is I have a 3D printed piece right there. And look at there. That's where all the wiring and shit is at right there. ESCs is underneath the bottom right there. And my PDB board is right there underneath the bottom right there. And that's where my receiver plugs into in the bottom. Thanks for watching.